Money moves. Look at life. If I was cool. Yo, success ain't a straight line, they flip their fate. Turn setbacks to comebacks, now they're straight greats. From the grind to the shine, watch the pros improve. On unconventional money, it's the next gen groove. Genius minds outside the lines. On unconventional money, we rise and shine. Unconventional money moves, where success rewrites the rules.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Technology fails. Like, it's just weird sometimes. I mean, especially like when you're messaging someone just online, and I don't know. Some people on podcasts are weird. They want to do like pre-interview call and this call. I'm like, I don't do that. I'm like, either you're coming on or you're not. It's very binary, ones and zeros. Either you're on or you're not.
I actually had a thing last night, and I thought it was going to be like this, And so the woman, she just like, it turned out she was sitting on her bed in her bedroom, and she just started talking to me, and I started answering questions, and I'm like, doesn't look like a studio, but that's cool. And for 20 minutes, I thought I was in an interview, and then it turned out it was one of those pre-interview things. All right, switch.
What was the name of the podcast? Nighttime Stories with insert name here.
Stacy something. I can't. Honestly, it escapes me, and I probably shouldn't say it now. I'm going to embarrass somebody.
It's okay. First names are okay. Yeah, the podcasting space is weird. It's become. I mean, there's a lot of people that do it, but it's just like very strange. Like, I've made the mistake of like paying someone, and I was like, they lie about like the numbers of like the viewers and stuff. For us, I already made like a lump sum donation to a good cause, and I know if like people are in the right mindset, they wouldn't mind helping contribute to that cause. So those are the sort of folks that we want to have on the podcast, people that have a open mind and a giving spirit. Because if you're not willing to give even just a little, then you're probably not someone that I want to talk to.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. And the thing is, it doesn't hurt to have a barrier for entry too, right? Like just a little bit, because otherwise you're going to have like 1,000 people a day trying to get on your show,
I know. And like, obviously you're like a former naval officer. Now you're in the business world. I mean, it's funny because like in business, when you're first getting started, like you're just happy. You're so happy when like you get a lead or anyone wants to talk to you about your business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize like a lot of those folks are just like wasting your time. Then you get the confidence. You're like, all right, I'm going to charge a little. I'm going to charge so little that it'd be laughable to someone who's like, oh, I'll totally pay that. Like, why is it, versus like some people are like, I'm not paying anything. And it's just basically like putting in pre-built filters because a lot of people will take your time.
Yeah.
Everyone wants something for nothing. Well, not everyone, but some people just have the mindset like, why would I pay money? It's like, well, you don't have to.
And well, that's fair, right? Like everybody can do what they want to do, but I mean, we are in business to make a living, right? And I mean, I'm happy to talk to people, but you can't just have 1,000 conversations a day for nothing. That basically they're just eating off of your plate, That ain't showing.
Yeah, I know a lot of companies do that. They do the free consultation because they want like as many leads as possible.
Yeah, true.
However, unless you're like a large organization that has the runway to burn cash just to like get as many leads as possible, you have to be very strategic, especially in the beginning, to get things off the ground. Because starting a business from scratch, unless you've done it before or have a lot of capital, it's interesting.
Never gets any easier. I've done this. I don't even know how many this is now. I've probably done it a dozen times, and I've only really succeeded 2 or 3. Like most of them fail for one reason or another, right? And it just it never gets any easier. But at least I can figure out more quickly when I'm screwing it up. I mean, it's the pattern recognition kicks in after a while, and you kind of pretty quickly when you're getting it wrong. So it doesn't make it easy, but at least it reduces the amount of pain.
Yeah, because I mean, you were a U.S. Navy officer,
Hmm.
And I know one of the struggles of being in any of the branches of military is when you're in the military, if someone has a job, they're competent at their job. When you get out into civilian life, not everyone is knows what they're doing. So when you came out of the Navy and decided to venture off into outside the outside into the world, like what was that transition like for you?
Honestly, it was probably okay. This is a true statement about most things in my life. It was more painful than it really needed to be. Okay. So what you just said about people in the military being confident and all that. Yeah, that's what I thought. And honestly, I had a really overblown sense of my own skill set when I left the service, and I learned some really hard lessons. Right, I learned a lot of humility in those first couple of years, um, and you know we are good at certain things, right? Like as every group of people has its own superpower, and military people definitely there are a couple of things that we're extremely good at because we just have to be. The mistake that we often make is assuming that because we're good at those things, we're good at everything. That's just not true.
Yeah, the spillover effect.
Yeah,
Yeah, some people, they're like, "Oh, I made a lot of money doing this, so I have to be good at doing
everything.
this."
Yeah, right. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I feel like we see that more nowadays because like especially uh like a lot of the do it yourself, obviously like Home Depot and Lowe's like made it very easy for people to get the things that they need in order to do like home renovation projects so that they don't have to hire out people.
Hmm.
Now like it's like push button get mortgage investing. Everyone's just like, oh, like I want to invest in like these low cost investments because that's what everyone else is doing. And it makes it a bit challenging, especially if you are out in the market to get people to like want to invest in things because people are under an illusion that things are free because people are like showing them like, oh, these things are like there's no cost to you, but like there's a cost
Yeah.
somewhere that they're just not seeing. And it's weird that people still aren't aware of that even though we're in 2025 and we have access to anything that we'd want at our fingertips.
Well, I lived on Bali during the biggest crypto boom in crypto history, and it was astonishing. I mean, there's an old saying, everybody's a genius in an up market, right?
Hmm.
And every person I met practically was hanging out a shingle and becoming a crypto investment coach or some garbage like that, you know. And I remember there's one cat out here who, he got lucky a couple of times. He made some reasonably good decisions, and he made a bunch of money, right? So he wrote it all down. So this guy started with something like $80,000, and within a month or so, he parlayed it up into a couple of million, right?
Yeah.
So so you know how it goes, right? So he launches an online course, and he's coaching, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's like, he's got his ticker on Instagram, and like the whole thing, right? So this is in, was it 21 or 22 when the big crash happened? Remember when, right, everything went down by 2/3 or 3/4 or whatever? So
Hmm.
so he just kind of hit the height of everything. Like he's up from 80 grand to like close to $3 million. And over the course of 4 days, he's down to 20K, right? And because he had a lot of confidence, right? And so he'd set himself up so that all this was going to happen in public, in real time. Everybody was going to see it, how amazing he was, and they all saw it. Wasn't exactly what he wanted to show, but you know, the market was no longer up, and turned out he was no longer a genius. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right for a moment, but when it comes to having a strategy in life and business, you know, on social media, people want to go viral, but it's like, what happens after you go viral? Like, people forget about you. What happens if you're the band that has the hit song of the summer and then you're the hot band for the summer and then people forget about you next summer? So, like, with your business and what you've built, how do you ensure that you don't become like a one hit wonder?
Well, we'd have to have a hit first. No, we're okay. We actually This month, we are for the first time we've been in operation for 6 months, and this month we're going to be in the black. So, yeah, we're all kind of dancing around over here. It was nip and
In the
tuck there
black
for
for
a while.
accounting terms means good.
Good. Yeah, it means we're not losing money. We've stopped the hemorrhaging, So that Warren Buffett has this great saying. He said that the most important thing you need to know about making a lot of money is don't lose it.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean that's unless you're really smart and really lucky, that's the truth about a startup, right? Like everybody starts spending more money than they make. And we've been doing that for 6 months, and thankfully, because we're out here on Bali, we're not spending a lot of money, like we can keep costs under control and whatnot. But it adds up, right? So this month is a big month for us, right? It's got a couple of placements, and suddenly we're not very far in the black. Like we're just kind of we're just making it, but we're the numbers next month are going to be just a little bit higher than they were last month, and that's a good deal. But what did you ask me?
So,
You asked me like what do we do to avoid disaster?
yeah. So like, what are you doing to make sure you're not like a one-hit wonder? So like, when people get in the business, they think it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to. Some people get in it to make a lot of money, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a lot of money. But if that's like your main mission is just to make a lot of money, it's going to be a very lonely role. It's like that person is everything's a means to an end. Like, hey, I'm doing this to make a lot of money. And then once you make a lot of money, you're like, now I'm going to make a lot more money. And so you're always like in the future versus what I've found, the people who are most successful in business like are in the process and in the moment, even the scary moments, like, oh no, we're losing money. It's okay. What are we going to do? How are we going to get out of it? Versus the person who's looking to make a lot of money, they're like, we need to make more sales calls. We need to make more sales calls. They're just always like jumping.
Well, that's the process is what saves you, right? I mean, without that, you got nothing. You play poker?
I do.
All right. Well, like a real poker player, like if they win money one night, but they bust their system, for those guys, that's like, all right, I screwed it up. Like I don't even deserve that win. Like you win over the long term by having a plan and playing your plan, playing your game plan. And that's what we're doing here, right? So, all right, how do we do it? I think generally speaking in business, you succeed by doing the hard thing, right? You succeed by doing the hard work that nobody else is willing to do, right? So the example you gave was sales calls. We've got to make more sales calls. So what does that mean? Does that mean I just had this conversation today with my sales guy because we just hired him and I'm kind of I'm bringing him into the culture, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, look, everybody else out there is trying to have 1,000 fake conversations a day, right? They're trying to bamboozle you with bullshit. Can I say bullshit? They're trying to bamboozle you with bullshit. They want to send 1,000 emails like, hey, Josh, or, it's all bull, right? Like they don't know who you are. And we're all allergic to it, right? Like we've all got so much spam in our lives that we can smell it a mile away. And guess what? When you do that, yeah, you send a lot of emails, but you don't get a lot of engagement because you've got nothing worth engaging with, and people can tell, right? So my message to my guy is, look, rather than sending 1,000 emails a day, I want you to create like 2 or 3 quality relationships every day. I want you to mean it, right? I want them to feel real because they are. Okay. So we have and thank goodness I'm an engineer at heart, right? I build things, right? So one of the things I built was a strong back end for us that's really, really good at finding prospects that we can probably help. Like these are like really, solid, still cold calls, but at least they're people we should be calling, right? So what that means is that every single company that we try to get in touch with is somebody who, we can honestly say we believe that we got something that's really, really good for them. And, and we want to meet them. And so we take the time to like we get to know what they're writing on LinkedIn, and we find out who they are as people, and we actually try to engage them in conversations, and then we connect with them on LinkedIn and start sending them emails, right? So
Hmm.
that's what we do differently, at least in the sales process, right? So we're actually we do it the hard way, you know. We'll
Yeah,
see if that works.
I got one of those sales calls yesterday. Someone's like, "Hey, we specialize in generating AI notes for financial professionals that are like custom for financial professionals." I was like, "Listen, man, I just use the AI companion on Zoom
Hmm.
and that's good enough." They're like, "Well, it's not like specific to advisors." I was like, "Well, listen, it's good enough. And then if I need to customize it, I can go in and actually like do the work and put in my own notes. So that way
Yeah,
I'm actually uh remembering the conversation, taking notes on the conversation, and that way like I'm actually like taking the, putting, actually pressing the buttons on the computer myself, not just like relying fully on AI to do it." And I was just like, he didn't get it. I was like, I think that's a terrible business idea, but I mean, everything with AI right now is like, everyone thinks just because it's like AI, it's going to be profitable. Unfortunately, as you've seen in your career, there's been lots of things like this that come about, and over time, the hype definitely disappears
yeah.
over a matter of time.
Well, it's gonna be crypto, AI, metaverse. What else? So some other thing, right? It's all gonna be rolled up together, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
and there's definitely gonna be an investment bubble around it.
oh, for sure. I mean, a solid business is one that produces earnings. So, how do you produce earnings? You have to have real cash flow. You can't just be like burning through cash, or you have to
Mhm.
have a path to profitability. And that's where a company could be running at losses and still go up, such as like Amazon.
Yeah.
But people like could kind of smell like where Amazon was going in terms of what they were building. But at the same time, though, that company struggled for a long, long time. You'd have to be really patient to
How
have
much
seen
money
those
did they
results.
burn? I mean, they burned just maybe hundreds of billions. They burned a lot of capital.
They
Yeah.
burned pretty much everything they made for a while. I don't know for how long, but it was for a long time.
Like over a decade,
Uh,
a long time.
oh, for sure. But then they were building things. They build like the
Yeah.
AWS that they're
Well,
giving
that's what
out for
saved them.
free.
I think that's what
Yeah,
saved them was AWS. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It
I
could
didn't
have
even
been
know they were like
retail.
offering it in like the early 2000s. I guess it was like a free program.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even actually touch that platform until a couple of years ago. I'd been on Microsoft the whole time. And once I got on AWS, I'm like, what took me so long?
Yeah. What are you using it for?
I mean, I use it for a lot of stuff. The main thing is actually another project that I'm involved with. It's a fintech app,
Hmm.
and I built the back end over the last couple of years, and it's actually a really big project. We've got like it's a microservices architecture, if that means anything to you. We got like 16 different services running, and it's huge. But the whole thing runs on AWS, and it's been a great platform. It's expensive, but it's a great platform.
And what sort of things are you doing on that platform? Because a lot of people don't even know about like what AWS is, other than I think when they're watching football, like it gives
Yeah,
analytics on football games.
yeah. Well, okay. So the short story is it used to be if you ran like a website or a like a web-based application or anything like that, you had a computer, a server sitting in a closet someplace, right? And everybody who logged onto your thing would wind up interacting with that machine, and that was where your application lived, right? Um, so then we got kind of virtualization, and so now instead of living in your closet, the server lives in a server farm over there at maybe AWS, maybe Microsoft or whatever, right? It's still a box, but at least it's sitting in a big air-conditioned room, right? But in the last decade, what's happened is now we've gone serverless, right? And so now instead of putting a whole application on a box and just putting the box someplace safe, now like every little function inside my application, every little kind of widget that runs in order to make the thing that I've made kind of runs in its own little virtual box, right? So each function is sort of its own thing. serverless compute, and it's incredibly scalable, right? Because you can have as many copies of this thing running as you need to, and it can be it can go from 6 users to 6 million users really without a hiccup. It does take a different philosophy of a different approach to building applications in order to get it right. But if you plan to build something that needs to serve millions of people, it's really it's the only way to go, really. I mean, the alternatives are just no longer even in the ballpark. So that's
Yeah.
AWS is a provider of that kind of service, and so you get serverless functions, serverless databases, serverless all the things that you need to put an application like that together, and so you configure them and you wire them up and you write the code that does all the stuff in the middle, and boom, you got an application. Makes it sound really easy.
Because you built data management systems for a few companies.
Oh yeah.
Little over 10 years ago. How did that experience guide you to where you are with what you're building in good old Bali?
So basically, after a decade of doing that, I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I came over here. So I was working for like big institutional finance, right? So we're talking like big giant banks. Big. I worked for Bridgewater Associates, which at the time was the world's largest hedge fund. Invesco, Northwestern Mutual, like the world's biggest financial institutions. And me and my guys, we built the data backbone of those organizations. So I mean, you've heard of data scientists, right? So
yeah, of course.
We were data janitors, right?
Janitors.
Yeah, seriously. So the thing about data science is, you got billions and trillions of data elements, and you mash them all together and you add them up, and you don't look at one thing, you look at all the things across a month, and you get the summaries and all that, and you can make all kinds of analytic stuff out of them, right? But the thing is, like, when you get your bank statement, you don't see any of that stuff, right? What you see is that on Tuesday you bought a lollipop over here and it cost you 27 cents, right? And it's got to be right. Every freaking detail has to be right, okay? And you don't get this aggregate thing where, like, if your bank balance is $10,000 too high, but your next door neighbor's is $10,000 too low, it's okay because it all comes. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Like,
yeah.
Right. So the kinds of systems that we built were systems that move data around and match data, and brought the reference data in to tell your brokerage statement, how much money you made last month and all that, and like hundreds of billions of transactions sometimes per day, right? And the tolerance for error was effectively zero. So we built highly bulletproof systems, right? And it just wasn't any fun anymore. Like I basically built like the same variation on the same system for like 15 different institutions, and I'd gotten really good at it. I was like top of my game, and I was running a consultancy with a couple of partners, and it's just at some point I just can't do this anymore. Like I'm sick of this. I want to do something fun. So I happen to be in the middle of a divorce anyway, which that kind of did for my company, and so it was like, well, I heard about the digital nomad scene out on Bali, and let's go do something completely different. I came out here, and then boom, COVID happened, and so I stayed. I've been here ever since.
How did you get roped into working for those companies?
The big institutions?
Yeah.
Well, so I got hired by this consultancy that wanted to pick up a new. This is in Chicago.
Did you get tricked?
A little bit. They hired me because they wanted to start this new line of business, right? And this data management thing, right? And there was this product at the time. It was called Cadus, and it was really big in the space, with financial institutions. So they hired me. They sent me to London. I went through 2 weeks of training and like learned the product and everything. I was the only developer in the room. They had all these like, I don't know, like salespeople taking this course on how to build, financial data systems. I'm like the only guy in the room who really ought to be there. So I learned it, and because apparently the people who they'd been training to do this were just not really qualified, I very quickly wound up being kind of at the top of the field. And meanwhile, the consultancy that had hired me wound up paying me about half of what they'd promised. So, I had an argument with him, and finally I said, look, I said, you're going to fix this, or I'm going to go independent. And they said, well, if you do, we'll sue you. I said, great. Here's my lawyer's number. And I took all their clients, and I started my own business, and I within 3 months was making 10 times what I'd been making previously, and that's what happened. And the lawsuit.
Did they come after you?
Yeah, they came after me, but they'd written a shitty contract and then breached it 10 different ways, and they really had no leg to stand on. So I basically told them to go pound sand, and they eventually had to agree that was probably a good thing for them to do. Yeah.
People are weird.
Yeah. All they had to do is be fair with me. I think I'd still be there probably. But
What a concept.
yeah.
Don't be greedy and do the right thing, and it'll work out.
I know. Like, how hard is that, right? We just treat people right, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that can be hard, especially if you're like starting out in business. Like, especially if you have like no money coming in, sometimes you get a little
it was scary.
desperate.
It was scary. I mean, so the guys I was working for were making a ton of money, right? But when I went independent, I mean, I basically I just got married. I just bought a house. Like I had, I was deep in it. I'd been. I mean, as a consultant, you fly around, you travel a lot, you stay in hotels, and you build up a lot of expenses, and it takes a while, especially. This was another reason why I left the big institutions, because they got billions of dollars, right? And then like you'd go like, $60,000 in debt, flying around and staying in hotels to serve these guys. And then they'd be 4 months late paying you. And it's like, come on, guys, like you can afford to pay me. Just pay your freaking bill. But, so I was like really like credit card debt coming out of my ears. And then now they're suing me and this big lawsuit and everything. And I don't think my former employer had any idea. You know what I actually did? Now that I think about it. So when all this went down, I was in Milwaukee, and I was working for this big hedge fund, right? And I was doing this job, right? And so I get into this fight with my employer, and I'm like, if the client finds out that there's a problem here, everybody loses, right? Like my employer is going to lose the contract, and I'm going to have to leave, right? So, like we got to resolve this, and we got to do it in a way that's completely, seamless for the client. So I had been like, they had been billing my time out at, I don't know, $300, $400 an hour, something like some, crazy amount of money, right? And I sat there in that chair, and I worked for this giant hedge fund for free for 3 months, right? Just because I didn't want them to know. I wasn't going to get, my employer wasn't paying me. They were suing me, right? They weren't billing the hedge fund because, I wasn't reporting my work. And so, I just sat there and did the job for 3 months while I worked everything out. And once I had it all kind of set with my employer, then we kind of worked it out, and everybody got paid. But God, talk about just being out on a limb, man. I was terrified.
So you're working and just like hoping they're gonna pay you?
I was trying to create a situation where after I had come to a settlement with my employer, they would really have no choice but to take me on as a subcontractor rather than employer, rather than an employee, in order to finish the job, right? So from the customer's perspective, the only thing that really happened was that they didn't get an invoice, and then eventually the invoice is caught up. But from my perspective, what happened was I got fired, I got sued, and then somehow I became a subcontractor for the folks who had fired and sued me and got to charge them my back rate at a much higher rate. And, it all worked out. So it was, it was a nail biting experience.
Sounds like you went through a test to get the reward.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's strange when people just decide not to pay you. I mean, I've had situations where like I go into an agreement with a company for a service and then like what I signed up for wasn't what we agreed to or what was advertised. And then I've learned, I mean, it's a hard lesson to learn, but I've learned like unless it's like a lot of money, like people aren't going to come after you. And vice versa. Like, and a lot of money means like
true.
it has to be like over $100,000 because the attorney's fees for anything less is not going to be worth it to pursue anything. And that's like a crappy lesson because there's like a lot of people out there who charge, they'll charge 5, 10, 15 grand for something. Someone will pay it, but then it's like, if they don't do the right thing, they basically know it's like not worth for someone to come after you unless they have like a lawyer on retainer, which most people in business, especially if you're a small business, you don't have an attorney on retainer that you can just send a message to and be like, hey Jason, have a situation, handle it please, thank you, and then just like go on with your day.
You're not wrong. On the other hand, it's one of the nice things about living in a social media world, right? Is that in a lot of ways there's nowhere to hide, right? Like if I treated my customers like that, people would know,
People always find out eventually. It's just sometimes you don't find out till you get into it.
It's fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with one guy for like 3-4 months. He just didn't decide not to pay me anything.
Well, I do actually have a remedy for that if you're interested. Turns out the older you get, the more you get to dictate how things go. Like I'm old enough now, I get to say when and where the meeting's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And I send my invoice before I do the work, right? So you want me to do the work, you pay me, and then I'll do the work, right? So I with very very few and in fact even here with our business, we accept payment in advance, and we'll give you a break if you pay ahead, quarterly or annually. We'll give you a break on the price, but we take payment in advance. And if you want to fire us, it's easy. Just don't pay us again, right? But that's how we do it, and that will sometimes mean that there are customers we're not going to get, and we're okay with that because I told you, big institutions, right? You bill them. They tell you it's net 30, but it's really like net 400, right? And I'm done. I'm done with it, right? I'm done. I'm done with working for people who've got way more money than I do, who think it's okay not to pay me. So these days, you already know who I am. You know what you're getting. You pay me, and I'll do the work, and that's the deal.
Yeah, I totally do that now. And then I get people like, hey, can I pay like a portion? And I go, yes, you can pay a portion, but I'm only going to do a portion of the work.
There you go.
I mean, I feel like that's more than reasonable. Like you're paying me for what I'm willing to do and vice versa. So if something's $1 and you want to pay me a quarter, I'm going to do a quarter. You want to pay me 50 cents, I'm going to do half.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's like, it also puts me on my guard, right? Like we're not children, right? It's not like nobody's like in my field. I'm well enough known, and I'm sure the same is true for you, right? So it's not like somebody who hires me doesn't know what they're getting, right? So if that person wants to kind of nickel and dime me and tell me they're going to pay me later and all the rest of it, I have to ask, why? Why are we having this conversation? Is it because you don't want to pay me at all? Like, that happens, right?
Yeah.
So maybe let's, we had a good conversation, and I'll go my way and you go yours. And if you decide later that you want to just pay my bill, then come talk to me, right? But yeah, I don't work for free anymore. Been burned too many times.
Yeah, I have a situation like that right now. Someone just they initially paid me, and then we agreed on something else, and that invoice has gone a little bit by the wayside. It's
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
first it's like a couple days late, then 6 days, and then 10 days. But that's why I put in that barrier to entry, like $36 for a consult. Are you willing to pay $36? Yay or nay? Are you willing to help support a good cause to come on a podcast? Yay or nay? And now I feel like that's it. Like, it's kind of crappy that you have to do that, but the best people I find are willing to invest, even if it's a tiny bit of money. And then other people who have a different mindset they're basically entitled. They're like, I don't want to pay this. I'm not going to pay this.
I was curious about that actually, because if I remember correctly, it wasn't. It was about $37 or $36, but it was an oddly very specific number. It was
Yeah,
like
the name
30.
of our company is 369 Financial.
Oh, okay.
So 369 stands for so 369 represents growth, family, philanthropy. So the philanthropy piece is I've donated money. I've taken the money and donated to a couple causes. One was a homeless cause, because like I feel bad when I see homeless people on the street. Like, I want to give them money,
Yeah.
but I don't know what they're going to spend it on. So I learned, I was like, why don't I give money to an organization that I vetted, that I know the money's going to go to someone who actually can use it, so that way
Yeah.
I don't feel as bad. So I did that, and I've donated to other things in advance. So I've donated a lot more money than I've received. But some people are like, I don't pay to play. I don't. One person today said, well, if you're going to charge a production fee, I'm going to charge you my guest appearance fee to make it fair. And I've learned back
All right.
when I was younger, I would reply to all messages. Now I don't even reply. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
reply. It's hard to not reply sometimes, though. It's like a constant test.
So I had a gunnery. So before I was a naval officer, I was a Marine. I actually started out in the Marine Corps, and I had a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps who used to say, you should never wrestle with a pig, because win or lose, you wind up covered with mud. And anyhow, the pig likes it.
Yeah. Some people love the drama.
I know. Yeah. Just so.
Some people just love the drama, and I don't have any interest in being in any sort of drama if I can avoid it.
I don't. That's been the bane of my relationship life. Was I wind up in relationships with people who love to fight, right? And I just can't. I don't like fighting with people, and I think life for me improved the day I decided I just wasn't gonna anymore. Like, it's just so much easier just to walk. That's why I live here. Actually, I live here. At least one of the main reasons is because the whole political fight in the States right now, like people just yelling at one another, and like finally I just like I don't care what side you're on. It's just like, oh God, enough already. Just stop. Come over here. You know what? Over here it's fantastic. Nobody gives a damn about politics. Like it's just not even. I can't remember the last time I heard Indonesians talking about politics. They just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like they have any control over what goes on anyway. But the point is, they're not arguing about it. It's awesome.
How do you transition to living in a place like Bali, like paying for things and transitioning your business and your life over there?
Well, I mean, okay, so the business that I had been in when I came here, I let it go. Like I did consulting and stuff, but basically, when I came here, I kind of serially tried a bunch of different startups, and a couple worked okay, but mostly not. And the neat thing about living here is that it's not very expensive, right? So you can try some crazy stuff, right? Like you can just go out on a limb and swing for the fences, and you know what? It's okay, because if you fail, it's not going to cost that much, and you're not going to be homeless, and it's okay, right? So that's fun. Like you can get up in the morning, and whatever your work is, like whatever the work is that gets you up in the morning, you can go do that and only that, right? And if it doesn't make you a freaking dollar, it's all right. You'll make a couple of bucks next week, and that'll be enough to pay the rent. The rent ain't that expensive. I just rented a house. I just got married a couple of months ago, so my new wife and I we just rented a nice big house, big enough to move the company office into it, and everything. And let's see, it's a 2 floors, big garden, about 1,700 square feet on the bottom, and then a little bit smaller on top deck. Like big house, rice fields next door, gorgeous. Annual rent works out to, I think it was $13,000 for the year. Nothing, so less than just over $1,000 a month for, right. So, I mean, that's the deal, right? You don't. Yeah, I've been trying for a week to buy an Apple TV. They're really hard to find here. Oh well, so there are trade-offs, but that aspect of it, right? This notion that the the parts of life that are expensive elsewhere are so inexpensive here that you can afford to live the life you want to live now instead of 20 or 30 years from now or whatever. That makes up for everything.
Yeah, I mean, if your expenses are low, it makes you richer automatically.
Yeah.
You just
Yes, exactly. It means that you can live like a wealthy man, and which makes like starting business and everything else just a whole lot more pleasant.
Yeah. What about like I mean, it's you and your wife in Bali, but I mean, obviously, Bali's far away from other folks. Like, what's it like being? I don't want to say like secluded, but
No,
like
it's not. There's a
Bali?
big expat community here. There's like that whole digital nomad thing, right? Bunch of Russians running around. A lot of Australians, Europeans, not too many Americans, just because we're about as far away as you could get.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of foreigners here. There's a really strong tech community. The crypto thing is just nutty here. And it's cool, like there's like the whole yoga vibe, the eat, pray, love thing, and it's spiritual in a really kind of woo woo sort of a way. And there's surfers running around, and just, I mean, you can't, you literally, if you threw a frisbee, you'd hit a pretty girl. If you just threw a frisbee at random, like it's nuts, like just pretty girls running around all over the place, and it's just beautiful. Like it's a beautiful place. And I mean, every place has its issues, right? But now we isolated is the last thing we feel. Just the opposite. I mean, we got people coming here all the time,
Well, that's
So,
sweet. Well, I'm glad you came on. Anything else you want to drop or chat about before I let you get back to paradise?
Well, can I take 3 minutes and talk about this business that we started?
You can take 10 minutes. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the name of the company is John Galt Services. I don't know if you've ever read any Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. We're out here. Basically, I discovered something along the way while I've been living here on Bali. There's a superpower that Indonesians have. Every culture has one, right? But theirs is really kind of special. Turns out in Indonesia, there are 700 odd languages being actively spoken. It's the world's largest sort of repository of languages, over 400 just on the island of Papua. So every Indonesian who you meet from a very, very young age speaks at least 2 languages perfectly fluently. Odds are the guy who pumps your gas speaks 3 or 4. Like it's really just like that, right? So you know how it is, right? If you start young speaking a language, extra language, then for the rest of your life you're better at it, right? So Indonesians as a people are just language superstars, and it is really, really easy to find Indonesians who speak not just good English but perfect English. And on top of that, perfect Japanese, or perfect, like, trilingual, quadro, whatever you'd say, lingual people. So what we do over here is we go find those folks, right? So for U.S. companies, UK and Canada too, but primarily U.S. companies who are, running call centers or doing network operations, or, want to expand their businesses in Asia and looking for speakers of specific Asian languages plus English. We go out into the Indonesian job market, and we go find young Indonesian professionals who have the language skills that our customers need, along with the other skills, whatever they are, whether it's sales or customer service or engineering or whatever, from network engineering to nuclear engineering. Right? We go find them, we hire them, we put them in this office right behind me, and we put them to work remotely to the customer, not to us, for our customers, right? And along the way, we pay these kids on the order of 2 or 3 times what they would make working for anybody else, right? So we deliver a life-changing career opportunity to our guys and girls, and they serve our customers incredibly well, right? So these are super talented kids. For your listeners who've done some outsourcing to places like the Philippines, with all love to our Filipino brothers, Indonesians are different. Indonesia is a country of 200 million people. They go to modern universities. They go to foreign exchange programs. The kids who we hire are every bit the peers of the Americans, multilingual Americans that an employer would hire in the U.S. The only real difference is that we're in a convenient time zone, and our kids cost less than what it would cost to hire an intern. So that's what we do. We're making a difference for our customers, and we're making a life-changing difference for our employees. And I'd love to meet some new people who are interested in being our customers.
And it's just call centers that you're doing?
We offer, we hire according to the customer's requirements, right? So we go across the entire Indonesian job market. It just so happens that customer service is a good fit because of the language thing, right? And because it's one of those jobs that can be, obviously our guys are remote to our customers, right? So it's one of those things that can easily be done remotely. Another kind of low-hanging fruit for us is network operations, IT services, overnight network operations, database upgrades, that kind of thing, the software testing. And that's the sort of thing that can be done remotely, but language matters. And we can help do that. Business development, especially if we have a customer who is expanding into Asia, and so they need somebody who speaks English extremely well so that they can interface with the American team, but also speaks the language of their target country very well, so that they can find a cultural fit and make contacts in the new country. That sort of thing is also a good fit for us.
Yeah, it sounds like you found a hole in the market, and you found a market that has the skills. You're able to help elevate the people that live where you're at in Bali, and creating a win-win-win-win-win. So that's super cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Everybody wins.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, how everyone can win versus some people only look at it as like a zero-sum game. Not everything's a zero-sum game. It's, with negotiation, some people are like, what can I gain from this versus like, what can we create out of the relationship where we can both benefit from that venture. So happy to have you on, Jason. We'll see everyone next time. Bye.
All right, man. Take care. Bye.
Cool. We made it.
We